Let's be honest, PCI sound cards usually suck, and Trident don't really get sung much praise in the video card department. Sure, we found that the Blade XP was a nice surprise as far as video cards go, and I don't think some of their PCI cards were as bad as people make them out to be, but will the 4DWave sound card continue this trend? Hello everyone, I'm High Treason, and as it turns out, Trident made a sound card, or at least they made an audio codec, or whatever you want to call it, the chip that goes on a sound card and makes it a sound card. Honestly, I don't know what to think. Never seen one in use before, and it's a PCI sound card. My expectations aren't very high. I guess we'll just get on and have a look at the damn thing, or have a listen to it most certainly, see how it sounds and how it handles. Why the hell not? Whilst different vendors surely made the PCBs for these chips, Trident had two versions of the 4DWave, the DX and the NX. Overall, they're not much different. The NX is the more advanced version. It supports SP-diff output and more than 2 speaker channels, but otherwise there's really not much between them, and they'll largely function the same way if you're not going to use those features, which very few people really do from what I've seen. The spec sheet boasts some rather impressive features, not least of which is Sound Blaster 16 support. Naturally, I'm very sceptical, as this was different to the other creative cards, and very few cards, if any, beyond its direct descendants, are really compatible with it properly, if at all, though many did promise this feature and simply never delivered. Besides, this card is PCI, and despite one of my PCBs having vias for the SB-Link header, they're not used, and the drivers don't seem to be aware of any such feature existing. Virtual FM is a little concerning too. Let's be honest, that sort of thing rarely bodes very well for how older games are going to sound on this, assuming they're going to work at all. As far as I can tell, the card will work in most DOS and Windows versions, which were around at the time it was made, but Windows 98, Windows Millennium probably, was almost certainly the target, so well, it's what we'll be using today, Windows 98 2nd edition, because you can't really go wrong with this operating system, it usually works. And let's not beat about the bush, the interface in this OS was far better than anything that came after it. There may of course be differences in Windows 3.1, DOS or whatever else. Well, in fact there is, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you're almost certainly going to want an older ISA card for those operating systems anyway, and in Windows NT any features beyond wave playback are just about useless, so there's no point talking about that. If the card even has drivers for it, which I think it does, but it might as well just be a simple DAC under that operating system, so it really doesn't bear any thought. Just use whatever if you're on NT. I don't really have any comments on Windows ME, though naturally it does have support for that. It's probably about the right time, and yeah, actually probably would be a pretty good fit. It's the sort of thing you would see in one of those Windows ME computers, I guess. If you ever saw one of these, I've never seen one of these cards anywhere. I realise not much was said about the PCB, but what do you want me to say? It really does look generic. If it was sat in a pile, you wouldn't be able to distinguish it from any number of other PCI sound cards of the same era or a little later without having a closer look at it. So yeah, it's a PCB. My NX one is has this Aztec logo on, which is weird because I don't think it's an Aztec card. They had their own chipsets, which, well, maybe we'll talk about those sometime because I have a couple of them, and I'm not going to lie, they're terrible. Still, installing the drivers for this card goes really smoothly. Nothing untoward and nothing strange, really. It has an installer. You can do it manually, but the install is really simple, and well, the strangest thing is just seeing Trident's name on an audio driver. PCM playback works right away before you even restart the computer. It sounds clear, it's not really very noisy, especially not for a cheap card, so yeah, that's not half bad actually. If you just want to use the thing in Windows, it'd be pretty good at it. By now pretty much every card could play 16-bit 48 kHz audio though, so that's not really something impressive. Its contemporaries will do just as good a job in this department with varying noise levels, and as I say, the noise floor is actually quite low on this. Another feature I was sceptical of is the supposed wavetable. A few cards claimed to have them at this time, and then never actually had one. Being a cheap card, I expected that to be the case here, or for it to be entirely software driven. I mean, some of them had the nerve just to have a software synthesizer, usually pirated as well, just included on the CD that came with the card. As for this card, well, it does use the host system's memory and some of its CPU time, but it seems other than that, the card does do a decent amount of the work. So the answer is yes, this card has a wavetable and it works in Windows without issue. As soon as it's been installed, you don't have to tamper with any settings, and MIDIs will use it when they play back. Well, I'll tell you what, it's actually not that bad as far as cheap wavetables go. It doesn't sound awful or particularly out of tune or anything. I do seem to remember reading claims that this card could support sound fonts, but these claims didn't come from Trident, and I can't find them again. And it doesn't appear to support those, at least not in this driver version if it ever did, and I really doubt that it did. You can load different sound sets using a different format though, SLB. The size and quality varies, kinda like the sound font capable cards. At the time though, these formats weren't exactly standardised. The OR cards didn't do sound fonts initially. I think they were SBK and maybe Sound Font 1 at some point. So yeah, you didn't have that function there, and the Sound Blaster PCI used that dumb ECW format. No, not that ECW format. Basically nothing else ever used. Those cards were horrible. Oh, for fuck's sake! This is a Sound Blaster 128 or Sound Blaster PCI, which is it? There's so many versions of this thing that aren't interchangeable. And if you thought I hated the ISA versions of creative cards, then you obviously don't know me very well, because these things are horrible. Half of them never worked. You'd install the drivers and get distorted sound, like it was outputting SPDIF when it actually wasn't, and a bunch of other stupid shit that you could never get to the bottom of. Even when they did work, they sounded bad, they looked bad, they even smelled bad. It's this very distinctive odour they have about them. It just smells cheap and shit. To make matters worse, they got bloody everywhere. Even shit motherboards, even Intel had them on, and especially MSI. Like those cursed MS6340 boards that every shit to your OEM was using, like Advent or Tiny or Packard Ball, or a million fucking others that I used to have to work on, and I just wanted to get the owner and fucking strangle them for buying a piece of shit in the first place, to tell them, I don't want your fucking money, you can keep the fucking money, why did you buy this thing, you fucking imbecile, I hate you, and I bloody well hope you all just fucking well die! Still, on paper, these two cards are similar in features and would have competed in a similar area of the market.
Damn you, Desparrow! Damn you!
Let's compare the damn things. So the PCM output, yeah, Creative's card has a little more noise. To be expected, and whilst I can't show it too well, it sure seems to hit my CPU a little harder than the Trident for whatever reason when it's doing things. But then again, that's Creative for you, and it's to be expected. Wavetable playback is, well, kind of shit all round really. Honestly, I don't rate cheap wavetables like these on either card, so pick your poison. The Trident one offends my ears far less, as it doesn't have N-Sonic's ear-slicing drums, but it still does sound cheap, which it is, so fair game I guess in both cases as far as that goes. Now I know what you're thinking, and yeah, does that Sound Blaster 16 compatibility even work? Or were Trident lying to us like everybody else? I mean, their documents are a little vague on it. Well, regular Sound Blaster games will usually work, so that's a start. And, well... Yeah, this feature actually works. How is that even possible? Because no matter what else might be said for this card, I am genuinely impressed because this is a feature which almost never shows up, even when it is promised, and this honestly left me speechless. The thing is, it usually works, at least as well as the SB128's own SB16 compatibility does, if not slightly better. Say what you will, but Trident actually delivered on a feature that almost no other company did. My hat is really off to whoever made this work. And in this case, I couldn't get Duke Nukem 3D or Blood to work on the Sound Blaster PCI here. I don't know why it won't work, because I'm sure it used to. It obviously doesn't like the machine it's in or something. So, I don't know. I guess really the Trident probably is the better implementation here. It doesn't seem to be as upset about it. And you can adjust the resources for the Sound Blaster manually in the system properties. It doesn't just pick some random parameters and force you to use those. Due to lack of SB link, I'm inclined to think this card is using some form of distributed DMA, but I'm really not sure on that. It's what the technical documents suggest. Whatever they're doing, it works. Now Yamaha have no excuse when they're using distributed DMA and theirs doesn't. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, it's not like Trident are exactly known for making sound cards. I think if they kept doing it, they might have been pretty good at this. I honestly forgot how bad the install was for the Sound Blaster PCI. It tries to put all these unnecessary things on the machine, tamper with file associations, and it changes the system startup sound, which I don't know what right creative think they have to dick around with my system themes, you know, but, well, evidently they did. At least it has an uninstaller that we can use when we're done with this, and it doesn't brick the system, so that's a positive. Speaking of bricking the system, I did deal with a card that actually had malware on the official driver CD not that long ago, so that was very nice. Yeah, my K6 actually ended up being rootkitted and all kinds of crap by an official driver disc. Thanks, Guillemot. Unfortunately, things do go downhill from here a little bit. The wavetable has some issues with pitch, but it is at least consistent in this matter, and what I mean is that the whole song can get pitched down quite often. I don't know why, or whether it got patched in later versions of the drivers. The drivers for this card aren't exactly abundant out there. I mean, they're not hard to find, but it's not like you're going to find just a well with loads of them in somewhere. You'll just have to take what you can get. feature does work, and you can fiddle with the settings we looked at before for loading different sound sets. Changes in this applet will affect the DOS games when they're running in a Windows DOS box. The pure DOS driver, on the other hand, doesn't seem to work quite as well as the Windows one for playing DOS games, which figures they would have put less focus into it by the time this was made. And so, well, I don't recommend really relying that and running on this card in pure DOS, but maybe you want to load that driver anyway, even when you are using Windows 98. It seems to just help out for some reason. I don't know why, it was just something I noticed. If I loaded that first, I seems to get a little more reliable results. Regardless of that, we do kind of have to give the Sound Blaster a point, I guess, because it doesn't have pitch issues, but it still sounds shit, and they're both fairly poor in this regard, and I don't know. I mean, let's be honest, they both have their own issues, so I guess we're still neck and neck overall. There is another issue which affects both cards, and that is inconsistent volume levels. Quite often the sound will be drowned by the music or vice versa, and it's just different with every game. Sometimes it's very quiet, sometimes it's very loud. I really don't know. Like I said, both cards seem to do this, so who knows? It must just be a thing of running PCI cards for DOS games. I mean, even my Yamaha used to do it a little bit. In that case, it was more often the PCM would be far too quiet for some reason. I don't know, it just seems to be a quirk of PCI cards. Let's be honest, this is a feature that wasn't going to be widely used by this time. I would say maybe the Trident is slightly more prone to it, but I don't know, because the Trident seems to work in more games, so that's probably why. And I know what you're thinking, so let's get it over with. Yeah, this whole wavetable emulation of FM idea was never a good one, and, well, we can't lie, can we? Neither card is any good at this. I haven't yet found anything as bad as the original Ensoniq S2000 though, from which the Sound Blaster PCI is descended, so yeah, there's always that consolation prize for both cards, but I suppose if you are stuck with this feature, using PC speaker sound effects and having the virtual FM or whatever your particular card calls it for music only is sometimes passable, but it just isn't very good. I never liked this on any card that did it, and it's kind of a shame. But this is essentially comparing heart attacks to strokes. You would quite happily do without either of them. So where does this leave us? I'll let the camera guy prattle on about it. I want to lay down. I've got a headache, and I can't do this anymore today. I'm gonna just let that guy sort it out, and I'm just tired. Alright, yeah, just leave me with all the white to do. Well, there you go. That's the Trident 4DWave. Not really all that bad, but not really all that great either. You see, the thing is, it's worth bearing in mind, PCI sound cards from this time were pretty crap anyway, all of them. And especially Creative's cards, and Creative just made worse cards, and so you know what I'm going to say. I think the Trident 4DWave is less worse than the Sound Blaster PCI. I'm not going to say it's good, but I'm going to say it's not as shit, and to be honest, it doesn't lie to us, which is actually something I think is pretty good, because there's quite a lot of peripherals at this time and they made some really bold claims, and I thought this was going to be another one with the Sound Blaster 16 support and everything, but it does deliver on what it says. Even the FM synthesis, I know it's bad, it's that horrible shit that uses a wavetable and it doesn't sound good, but it told us that it wasn't real FM. It made that quite clear, and so it didn't lie about what it did. It delivered on everything it said it would do, and so is it really a bad card? I wouldn't say it was a bad card because it's not doing anything wrong as such, but I don't know the usage applications people like us who probably want to play DOS games. I mean, if you were the sort who were going to run a Sound Blaster 128 and you have one of these in a drawer, maybe give it a go just for variety's sake. Again, it's nothing brilliant, but, well, it was for the budget area of the market. It would have been very cheap in its time, and I guess it served well. I could see it being a laptop or something, and I tell you where I think it'd be a good fit. If you want to build a clown car machine that runs Windows Millennium and some really weak celery processor, I think that might actually be a good place for it to go, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It just seems like the sort of machine this thing would end up in. Like, it's not a real genuine do MS-DOS shit on it machine. It's that sort of legacy's dying and it's not really properly supported anymore thing. But all that aside, I do find the Sound Blaster 16 thing quite impressive. Like, I don't know any other PCI card that does that, especially no USB link connector, and apparently it does use distributed DMA or some such like the Yamaha cards do when that's not plugged in. And I have to say, in many ways this thing's more reliable than the Yamaha cards. I didn't realise how lucky I was with my first 724, because all the other ones I've been around have been pretty piss poor in all honesty. I don't like them anymore. I might go against my standards and take that video down I made about mine, because I don't believe that's accurate across the board. I think I was really lucky and I had a really good one, because the rest of the 724s don't seem that good. They are better than this card. You know, if it came between the two of them, yeah, probably 724. I don't think there's much of a contest there. The 724 is probably going to be the more useful, but yeah, that's a story for another time. There is because of the way this card does its Sound Blaster support, I don't know what would happen if you put a real ad-lib in the system, because apparently it waits for the signal to fail before it then intercepts it, and so if there was a real ad-lib, then maybe the FM stuff would go to the ad-lib card and never reach the PCI bus. Don't know, haven't tested, may have to another time, but certainly not today. And I don't really have too much else to say about either of them. You know full well I hate Creative cards. If you see my past 16 video, you'll know I hate Creative cards. If you watched a bunch of my other videos, you'll know I hate Creative cards. I think they're horrible things. They're badly made, they never really sound good, and sometimes they're grossly overpriced. The Sound Blaster Live was £70 for a long time. I bought a Sound Blaster Live for £70 when they were a relevant card, and it's one of the biggest disappointments I've ever had, and I saved up for weeks to buy that thing, and I'll never forgive it for that, because it was just trash. Complete trash. I could have bought a C-Media card for under £10, would have done the same fucking thing. And on that note, you think, oh, you know, you're saying this, that, you know, MSI motherboards, Intel motherboards use that Creative chip, and there's the thing, you all bash on PC chips, they at least had the decency to use fucking C-Media, so were they really that bad? Yeah, you know, I think MSI is probably fucking worse in that regard, and you know what, MSI may be just worse than PC chips on average. That would be an interesting thing to figure out, because MSI have made a lot of piss poor motherboards over the years. Who made the most bad ones? Because I wouldn't be at all surprised if MSI actually came out worse overall. I don't know about now. I couldn't tell you what they're making. They're probably gamer shit with plastic over all the components, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but to each their own. Anyway, yeah, I really am out of stuff to say on the matter. They're sound cards, they're cheap sound cards from the late 90s, and to be fair to them, even ISA sound cards at this time were pretty bad. Really what you're going to do is probably just buy an ESS card like everyone else did, but at least now we know, and at least it's documented, because like I said, I've never seen one of these in use, and it is interesting just for the sake of it existing at all, and just because of what it does. Like, yeah, it doesn't seem anything that huge now, but really I don't know the cards that did the Sound Blaster 16 on PCI thing that weren't Creative or Ensoniq, so yeah. I'm probably going to disrupt the content on this channel a little bit. I hate using words like that. It makes me... It feels bad coming out of my mouth, words like content. But yeah, probably going to be a bit disruptive this year, because I want to ride my bicycle to Hornsey, which is like this seaside town. It's like, what, about 15 miles away at some point, and I want to live stream it. And I've done some test stuff behind the scenes. I should be able to get it to work, so I'm going to do that at some point. It's not going to disrupt, well, no, it probably will, because here's the thing, I've been behind on this, because A, I don't want to touch Sound Blaster 128, so I've been putting this video off, and B, it's fucking summer. I don't want to be in here fucking about with this stuff. I want to be out there, and so I'm going to go out there, and I'm sorry, but I've said from the start, you know, this is in my own time, and probably I'm going to spend a lot of time out there this year, because usually every fucking year something goes wrong and it stops me, and thus far this year it fucking hasn't. I'm going to make the most of that. I want to get back in fucking shape, but otherwise we're still going to dick about with this stuff when I find time to do it. Not sure where we'll go next. I really am overdue for talking about Cyrix stuff. Maybe that's something we need to get into. Maybe we'll have a look at a Cyrix system, which maybe just one step behind the generation this Trident card might have gone in. It's a little older stuff. Maybe we'll use that as a gateway thing, and then we can fuck about with some Cyrix 486 stuff and things like that. Could be kind of interesting. I've just remembered. Well, I'm going to have to chase something up, but nothing. I bought something months ago and it never showed up, and I've only now realised. Guy's reputable. I don't think it would have fucked with me. Oh no, I think I know what he'll have done. Well, I'll have to get on with that. But anyways, yeah. So now you know, disruption's going to happen. If you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. You know, I'm going to do it anyway. Even if I didn't live stream it, I'm going to do it anyway. It's not going to change anything on the channel. And if you don't like it, well then, like I say, you don't have to watch it. And if you do watch it and you don't like it, well, fuck you, why did you watch it? I'll never understand that about people. I think the audience on this channel is a little bit smarter than that, to be honest. From what I've seen. But you never know. There might be idiots hiding out there. I mean, the internet's a really big place. And feel free to complain at me if it bothers you that much, but I'm still going to do it anyway. Yeah, I don't know, man. I got nothing left on this. I really haven't. I'm just, yeah, that's done. Now I don't have to play with Sound Blaster 128s anymore. I fucking hope. I hope I never have to put another one in, because it makes me want to murder people so bad. On that note, I'm going to get out of here, and I think I'm going to stab somebody. So thanks for watching. I'm High Treason, and remember, don't be a screw up. Load DOS 622 up. Sound Blaster 128.